Hello, my name is Ashish. I am talking about email etiquette. The average US employee spends about a quarter of the work week going through the hundreds of emails sent and received every day. But still plenty of professionals still doesn't know how to use email appropriately. In fact, because of the sheer volume of the emails we are reading and writing every day, we are at more risk of making embarrassing errors, and those errors can have serious professional consequences. This learning module has a list of rules and recommendations learned through experience and research. Here's the overview. I will talk about what are the contents of an email, basic rules, and will share a few tips to keep in mind when writing an email. Email etiquette means the manners or the principles of behavior that one should use while writing and or answering email messages. In this era of information technology, the importance of email etiquette cannot be emphasized more as it reflects on your professional image and persona. There are some etiquette rules which needs to be followed while writing or responding to messages. Well-written emails are part of succeeding in university or on the job. It helps you make a good impression. It makes it more likely that you will get the response you want. So when you're writing your email, you need to follow or understand what tips you need to follow in order to send the email. So whenever you are writing an email, be sure to have a proper subject line. Then you should have a greeting, introduction if required. Then you need to have a main body of the email or the message or the request you are trying to make. Then you should say thank you or have a closing remarks. And don't forget, always include your signature at the bottom of the email. A good subject line should effectively summarize the message. If the subject line is clearly written, then all the recipients will have a clear understanding of the object that the email relates to. We should not use more than 6 to 7 words in a subject line. What I mean is, you should not have a sentence in the subject line. Never use capital letters. When replying, change the subject line when the topic changes. Example of a good subject line. Let's have some examples. Meeting date changed. Quick question about your presentation. Or can we have a face-to-face meeting? Or suggestions for the proposal you have sent. People often decide whether to open an email based on the subject line. Always try and begin with a line of thanks. Find any way to thank target receivers. This will put them at ease and it will make you appear more courteous. For example, thank you for contacting Co-op's team. Salutation. We should be very careful in writing the salutation because it can be mistranslated by the reader. So the sender must ensure that his or her reader is comfortable and happy with the salutation used. Otherwise, rest of the communication may not bring any positive result. Never use laid back or spoken expressions like, hey you guys, yo, or hi folks. Here is very informal salutation, and generally it should not be used in the workplace. And yo is not okay. Use hi or hello instead. The standard way to open an email is with dear, then the person title name. So for example, it could be Dear Ashish, Dear Naresh, or Dear Dr. John, oh, hello Mr. Modi. Never shorten anyone's name. Say hi Ashish, unless you are certain he prefers to be called Ash. Do not make an email longer than it needs to be. Remember that direct language can sound harsher in emails than in person. Use proper written, non spoken language. Do not assume that the reader will get a joke or understand your sarcasm. We need to be thoughtful and respectful in what you write. Do not make demands. Choose your words carefully. So, when you're writing an email, be specific. Explain the reason of the email. So, for example, when can we discuss to finalize the operation checklist? Make sure you pay attention to the structure and layout of your email and write about one thing that is stick to one subject at a time. Once that's done, you can send another email. If you write about multiple things with multiple requests, it is highly likely that your email won't be read or acted on the receiver's side, or he may act only on one item and he will forget to action the rest of the item which is more important than the first item. Refrain from using urgent or important in an email. If something is really urgent, make a phone call. Use short paragraphs and blank lines between each paragraph. Use a font that has a professional or neutral look. For example, I use Arial size 10. People just want to know what you want, so state that in the first sentence. Avoid talking about other people in the email message. If your message includes a request, always close with a thank you at the end of the email. Try not to demand an immediate response. If your company has a disclaimer to be added in the email body, check with your HR department and add a disclaimer to protect your company from any liability. Improper spelling, grammar, or punctuation give a bad impression as a professional. It is also important for conveying the message properly. Your mistakes won't go unnoticed by the recipients of your mail. And depending on upon the recipient, you may be judged for making them. So use proper grammar and sentence structure. Spell check your email before you final hit the send button. Don't rely on spell checkers. Read the email before you send it. It is very important to read the mail before sending as it can prevent it from spelling or grammatical mistakes and thus helps you sending a more effective message. Review and spell check your email one more time to make sure it's truly perfect. It so happened in one organization that a supervisor wanted to write sorry for the inconvenience and relied on his spell check and ended up writing sorry for the incontinence. Edit and proofread before you send the message. You may think you are too busy to do the small stuff, but your reader may think you are careless, unqualified, or unprofessional. People are not interested in reading your email if it has nothing to do with them. Ignoring the email can be difficult, with many people getting notifications of new emails on their mobile, smartphones, you can say, or distracting pop-up messages on their computer screens. Refrain from hitting reply all. Unless you really think everyone on the list needs to receive the mail, do not overuse reply to all. Don't write in capital letters. Writing in capital makes it seem as if you are shouting. This can be highly annoying and might trigger an unwanted response in the form of an offensive email. Never send any email with all text in capitals. If you choose to use an exclamation point, use only one to convey your excitement. People sometimes get carried away and put a number of exclamation points at the end of their sentences. The result can appear too emotional or too immature. Exclamation points should be used cautiously in writing your email. When replying to an email, make sure to include the original message in your response, which helps the reader to connect to the message replied. No action or response is expected of individuals on the carbon copy or CC. The recipient needs only to read or file the message, so think twice to the people in CC needs to be sent a copy of a mail. However, for the people whose work is indirectly affected by the communication should be included on the CC. Similar feature to CC is also called BCC, called blind carbon copy. Recipients are invisible to the other recipients. Use BCC field cautiously. Never send an email when you are angry. Never respond if you are upset or offended by someone. Take some time to cool off and consider appropriate response. Before you send an email, ask yourself, would I say this to the person on his face? So think twice before you send an email when you're angry or cool yourself down. Calm down before responding to a mail that offends you. Once you send the message, it's gone. You need to read your message twice before you send it and assume that you may be misinterpreted when proofreading it. Sympathize with the sender's frustration and tell them they are right if that is true. Each email should be replied to within at least 24 hours or preferably within the same working day. If you are receiving a confusing or unclear email, give the writer the benefit of doubt. Ask politely for clarification. Suggest discussing the matter in person. If the email is complicated, send an email saying that you have received it and you will get back to them. This will put the person mind at rest. Usually, they will then be very patient. Respond only to messages that require one. When replying, make sure that you are adding value to the conversation, truly moving it forward. You don't want to send an email accidentally before you have finished writing and proofreading the message. Even when you are replying to a message, it is a good precaution to delete the recipient's address and insert it only when you are sure the message is ready to be sent. Pay careful attention when typing a name from your address book on the email to line. It's easy to select the wrong name, which can be embarrassing to you and to the person who received the email by mistake. A word of caution. Do not overuse email communication. Sometimes it is best to walk to the person and speak or pick up phone and talk if it's possible. Ending an email professionally is just as important as perfecting the rest of the message. If you do it sloppily, you might lose some precious business opportunities. Courtesy is always important, no matter how short the email is. Before you end your email, you can add some sentences as follows. Thank you for your patience and cooperation, or thank you for your consideration, or include an accurate follow-up statement. I will send you additional information. Please let me know if you need further assistance on this, and so on. If a response is required, specify what and when you need it. A professional signature makes it easy to connect. Uh, a professional signature makes it easy to contact you. Your email account can automatically add these data to the bottom of the email. So what you need in the signature, you need to have your full professional name, your job title, your mobile number or the business landline number or address, and if you're working for the company, a logo of your company. A basic guideline is to assume that others will see what you write. So don't write anything you don't want anyone to say. A more liberal interpretation: don't write anything that would be ruinous to you or hurtful to others. After all, email is dangerously easy to forward, and it's better to be safe than sorry. Use your corporate email for your work only and personal stuff for the personal email. Corporate email is not private. It is archived and is normally monitored, and most have policies against it. So let's watch an email etiquette video.
Before you hit send, email is a vital part of business communication. Unfortunately, many employees don't know how to use email well, nor do they understand the risks of using it inappropriately. Before you hit the send button, ask yourself these questions. If the message is addressed to more than one person, does it really need to be? Reply all should be used very sparingly. Am I angry? If so, save the message as a draft and return to it at least an hour later. Have I reread what I wrote to be sure it's well written and punctuated correctly? Could I better accomplish the purpose of the message with a phone call or other method of communication? Am I covering more than one subject? If so, consider sending a separate message for each subject. Am I blind copying anyone? If so, how will the primary recipient feel if he or she finds out? Am I attaching a file that may be too large for the recipient to receive, or in a format that will be difficult for the recipient to open? Have I included a subject line that provides the recipient with a useful context for my message? We hope you'll follow these guidelines to make email a more useful and effective business tool. Thank you.
Thank you for watching and going through the email etiquette course. I hope you really enjoyed it and learned few tips. Please contact Corp's Health if you have any questions regarding email etiquette or would you like to go for other courses. Thank you.